We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. It's a magical day, geeks, and welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and in today's episode, we're breaking down all the marvelous and magical news from Disney's Investor Day 2020 bombshell presentation that caused all of our brains to explode like all 3 Death Stars. But first... Aren't there 3 Death Stars? There are, right? Well, there's one of them's not really. Anyways.
Kind of. Oh, yeah.
But first, if you're joining us for the first time, this is a weekly show, sometimes, kind of, maybe, covering the world of film, television, gaming, toys, and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for today's episode, we have the gestational Jafar of the Jungle Cruise, Justin.
Okay, I approve of that one. At least one of the... Well, Jafar was a nickname I had in high school, oddly enough. So.
Oh, really? You kind of look like him. You kind of look...
No, I know. It was a racial thing. It was definitely one of those racial stereotypes that were like a nickname. But because I had thick eyebrows, right? So now I get the Eugene Levy or Dan Levy like sort of connection with the eyebrows, but not so much the
and
Jafar.
The glasses,
but that was
too.
good. Yeah,
there
the
you
glasses.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
And joining us once again, hot off our previous episode of Watch Club The Mandalorian, we have none other than the Doctor Strange of Disney Dynamic Details, Darcy Hudson.
Whoa, I like that.
I'll take that as well. That's also a good one.
Bravo. Good
I mean,
name.
Darcy, you look kind of strange. You're, you know, I get that Doctor Strange persona from you. Would that be
that's the first thing people take away when they see me is that guy's weird. So
yeah.
I'll take it. I love
that
it.
That guy comes from some sort of multiverse. Well, guys, listen. This. I mean, I felt like I was in a multiverse with this crazy, insane amount of news that came out of all of this. Yes. Guys, before we dive in to all of it, I want to know, because let's just get straight to it. I know we normally do Watch Out, we normally do, the banter, but we got so much to talk about.
No, we ain't got time for that. Yeah,
we don't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, guys, we are going to jump in. But just before we dive into all that news, I want to know, high-level overview, starting with Justin. What did you think of the presentation? How it was rolled out? Did your brain melt? Did you have a headache by the end of it, like I did? What were your overall thoughts?
Well, you know what? The initial response of everything coming in was just tweets and things on social media that I was seeing, and everything was just popping up live as it was going. But there was no formal presentation to it. So then after I did some digging, and I actually found some of the stream online. I guess, which wasn't supposed to be done because this is reserved for specific people. So I was able to at least watch the Marvel and the Lucasfilm versions of this presentation, and they were epic. I wish this was actually streamed to everyone. I wish they had used Disney Plus as a way to say, this is how we're going to get this information out. It's not just for investors, but it is for the bigger audience, because these are I consider myself an investor, even though I don't own stocks.
I mean, we're all investors. Come on. The amount of money we put into Disney.
At this point, yeah.
Exactly. So we're consumers, definitely. So I think a lot of the information for us is so much more I was freaking out with some of the news that was dropping. But I think this kind of goes to explain why HBO Max and WB earlier this week, which was news that we kind of talked about in outside conversations, but they announced this week that they're going to be releasing their theatrical movies on HBO Max at the same time. Yeah. And this has gotten a lot of directors and filmmakers and theaters even in general just very upset about how Warner Brothers is handling this whole situation. But Disney has kind of just showed a huge hand in what their future is going to be, and that is streaming and interconnectivity and not relying on just theaters. They have their own platform that they can do a lot with and really make it a very special thing. And it's so funny, after the investor thing, they announced they're increasing the prices. So, there's intention here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's going up to $8 a month in the US.
Yeah.
And that's in March of 2021. And I think that's bound to happen. I don't mind that. The overall presentation that we were able to at least see parts of, it was great. It was actually really refreshing to see, because I feel like Marvel and Lucasfilm have been very quiet this year, even with everything going on with the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see some of the forefront of the plans that they have moving forward for the future with Disney Plus. So I'm super excited. Like, I can't wait to talk to you guys about what was discussed in this presentation. It sounds awesome.
We'll get to it. I need to ask though. I mean, I think you're right though. Sorry, in lieu of a D23. I think this being on Disney Plus as a public event would have been really, really cool. One of the things they did do is they did release it as a stream. You can actually look it up. It's not on YouTube, I believe. Parts of it are on YouTube that were captured, but officially, I think they have an actual Disney Investors website. And that's, I got a PDF document from that website, which is what I'm going to be referencing throughout the night tonight.
Awesome.
But or today, or when are you listening to this? Whenever you're listening to this. But I mean, the big thing that really bugged me about that stream, though, and again, I get it was for investors, but every single moment, especially I think the big one that really hurt me, and we'll talk about the Obi-Wan thing when we get to it, but the fact that they were just like, and now a sneak peek, and it just cuts away to
the amount of times it did that was so annoying.
It was so frustrating.
I feel like investors aren't the ones who want to see that stuff. They're happy to hear the title and be like, "Yep, take the money. We trust you guys." But
right?
It's kind of taunting to see 2 minutes countdown. You're like, 2 minutes I'm not going to see for a couple other months. Or whatever.
What do you think is the reason for not showing this publicly?
I feel like it's probably very rough footage. Like they even said for that Lando one that it was a clip reel to give the idea of what the vibe of the series is going to be. So it's not going to be anything with the characters. It'll be more just like setting the idea or feel for these series. So
I think it's also material that is very subject to change. So they don't want to necessarily put all of their eggs in the basket. Like, I was thinking about this after, like, in a day and age where, the fans are the ones that really want to see, like you're saying, Darcy, this material more so than the investors. I think the idea for the investors is to at least put their mind in the idea of like what the mood or the look or feel of the series.
They have a plan. The plan going forward will
exactly.
be.
But it is subject. It is subject to change. Whereas I think if you go like full cards in, you know what I mean? Like,
you're making promises.
To what you're,
Exactly. Right. So.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just like how HBO made all those promises that they now can't walk back as much as a bunch of people.
Well, they can definitely walk back, but they did stipulate, like HBO, like the Warner Brothers thing. They stipulated for 2021. Right. And I think it is like presumable for foreseeable future, but like at least for 2021, because theater, it's not the world's not the same after this whole thing, right? Like there has to be an adaptive sort of way. And like, I'm not saying I still want to go see Christopher Nolan movies in theaters. I still want to go see Dune in theaters, but I just think, and I know that that's how I want to experience it. I get though that these filmmakers are very disgruntled though about the approach to how their art is being handled, and what they signed up for essentially, right? Like they want the theater experience. So I get it, but they need to adapt. Everyone needs to adapt and think creatively about these new times.
Yeah, and I mean I think we're going to see a lot of that played out on Disney Plus, guys. Let's get right into it. Let's start off with talking about, the beginning of Phase 4, essentially, is less than 30 days away. WandaVision, launching on Disney Plus January 15th, 2021, will be the first series that continues to expand the MCU. Wanda Maximoff and Vision are two superpowered beings living in an idealized suburban, their idealized suburban lives, but everything is not as it seems, guys. I mean, we've already had a few trailers, teaser, and then a regular trailer, and now we've got a second trailer for this. Guys, let's dive into that trailer. Justin, what did you think of that latest WandaVision trailer?
It gave you a lot more of the impression that she's trapped. Whatever we're about to watch
100%.
is like a trapped world that she's in. I think we were talking about this last time in regards to the House of M comics, the storyline in the comic series. So there's a lot of symbolism. The trailer does a lot to set us up for what we're about to see. We just don't know why we're seeing it, like what the circumstances of the situation are.
I watched that trailer and got really excited because I feel like I understand what might be going on. Just the main character, that one quick flash of seeing Kat Dennings' character back in the MCU made me realize that this is clearly a paranormal event that has people's attention. So that's why else would she be around if she's worked with the professor who was studying Norse mythology and worked so closely with Thor? Like, she is into this whole paranormal aspect. And so I feel like the show is either Wanda has been approached to either help a society or a town or whatever that has fallen under this weird spell, or she's the cause of the spell herself, because again, her powers are very reality altering, and that is the core fundamental of her powers, is she can change reality. So I can, again, maybe she's having a mental breakdown trying to bring back Vision because he's the one thing that she loves in this world. So seeing maybe this, how it affects the world that or the town she's hiding in or something like that, like, it's going to be a mental, like, it's very much based in Wanda's mental state for sure. So I'm, again, very curious about to see how the show is portraying this character that is so crazy powerful.
Okay.
Well, we won't have to wait too long because geez,
again,
January,
a month.
Yeah, January 15th is not that far, and I'm excited. We've seen enough. Let's get into it. Let's watch it. Let's see. Again,
this trailer did a lot to get me really, really hyped for the show that I was kind of like on the fence about.
And what a great time to announce for anybody listening right now. Just like we've been doing our Watch Club Mandalorian in review, which we've got 2 more episodes left. And listeners, I want to let you guys know we are going to be doing WandaVision Watch Club, which is going to be super, super fun. We are going to be doing that as the episodes are released. I'm assuming they're going to release them weekly. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm very stoked for that. Guys, after that, in March of 2021, we are going to be getting The Falcon and Winter Soldier, which, based off that trailer, looks much more far along. It is a movie. It looks like a movie.
It's a movie. We're getting 6 movies or 7 movies, however long the season is going to be. The production value, that flight chase looked so, like, I'm on board. That's the action they pack into every episode, or even every couple episodes. They got me hooked. It's not too far in the future either, though, compared to what everything else they've announced so far. So, like, this is stuff that we can look forward to and really have a tangible feel of, we're getting this soon. So
it was interesting the way that they kind of set up the trailer. And again, I know that trailers aren't always, they're meant to sort of not reveal too much or sort of trick us. But, you know, we see the opening of that trailer with Sam standing in the Captain America exhibit. Kind of looks like he's going to steal the Cap shield, just like Captain America had to do, right?
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, definitely trying to go for that vibe.
Right, and then we've got that U.S. agent, John Walker, who clearly is going to be like the U.S. government's choice for Captain America as the successor. I mean, we get that callback with him jumping out of the plane.
I want to see more of Daniel Bruhl's character.
It looks like he's going to be almost helping them from the one shot we see in the trailer. But I got really excited to see another fictional, at least I'm assuming it's the fictional world city of Madripoor brought to life. That's a very big city, a very scummy underworld type of a city in the Marvel Comics. And the one shot of them walking, it looks like Zemo's leading Sam and Bucky into this city, into the underworld, to try and make a contact with someone. So I'm looking forward to it, because Madripoor has huge connotations and associations with Wolverine and more so the X-Men. So seeing them start to explore this area before we get those characters, I think it'd be really interesting if that's how they start dropping the seeds that, you know, there are mutants out there.
I just got chills, Darcy. I just got chills. Oh my gosh.
There was rumors too that they were trying to find someone to cast as a Wolverine character for the Winter Soldier, for the Falcon and Winter Soldier series.
Wolverine, again, in the comics, has a huge association with Captain America. He fought in the war beside him. I mean, again, depending on what comics you read, he was either like right alongside him or fighting in another battle at the same time. Wolverine fought through all the wars, so he has a very strong connection to like a soldier aspect. To see him join up with 2 more veterans of wars, it'd be interesting if that's how they decide to introduce mutants through Wolverine, because again, he's probably the most recognizable of the mutants that we know.
Out of all the places to introduce the X-Men into the MCU, Falcon and Winter Soldier is not where I thought that would be. So that would be really wonderful and surprising.
Again, I could be wrong. It's just seeing that very futuristic, almost Blade Runner-y vibe city. That's Madripoor is immediately what it called to mind.
If it doesn't happen that way, you're never coming on the show again. No. And then, speaking of kind of, surprising and weird, guys, Loki. We got the Loki trailer. Loki will be coming out on Disney Plus May 2021. Guys, of course, this takes place right after, or right maybe through the events of Avengers Endgame. With Tom Hiddleston returning, of course, as Loki. But I was stoked to see Owen Wilson going to be joining as Mobius M. Mobius. I'm so okay. Darcy, you seem like you're the most excited of the three of us. Go for it.
Sorry, just that trailer has me so excited because it is driving home the fact, I think, that this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is driving home the multiverse. We're bringing between the Spider-Man announcements and then the Loki jumping through time streams. Like, this is a Loki that didn't die in Infinity War. He never fought in Dark World or in Ragnarok. Like, that stuff never happened to this guy. So this he is a Loki before he changed for the better. So he still is conniving and scheming as we loved him when we first saw him. So the fact that he is now being forced to work for this association, at least that's what I'm gathering he is doing.
Yeah, the TVA.
This trailer, the something temporal variation agency, I believe, is what it stands for.
I think it's Time Variance Authority. I'm sure you can come up with any.
There's so much to discuss about that alone. The fact that they have a time cop essentially organization that is known to police this stuff, and he is breaking time by existing and clearly trying to get back. I'm assuming Mobius has shown him the alternate futures, like, hey, you died in this future, and maybe he saw that, and once he escapes, he's trying to find Heimdall and Thor. I think he's trying to go back and save them, so they owe him something. Like, there's so much to explore with this Loki trailer that is going on. I think the fact that they are making references to D.B. Cooper, the fact with the sunglasses and jumping on the plane with all the money, I feel like they're going to use this show to explore all the unexplained mysteries of our universe.
Yeah,
I've watched that trailer probably 4 or 5 times, and when you see him as, Loki, vote Loki, running for the president of the United States, in the background of one of those shots, you see a Polybius game. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Polybius, but it was the fictional game that was causing psychosis in people who played it in Portland, except it never existed. So just all these things that they're opening the door for and are going to tie back to Loki is just, I cannot wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think
Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah, the one thing that stands out to me about this show is Marvel's like their ability to take characters and fuse them with like genres. So this has such a weird campy spy thriller, but like very mysterious sort of like element to it. Like it seems like it's going to be tons of fun, and yeah, I'm actually really excited. These 3 shows that they showcased, with strong trailers, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki, they really do feel very grounded and they know what they are. They know what they're
all separate entities and
exactly
and doing their own thing. Yeah,
exactly right. And like that to me is very clear in this sort of offering that they've presented. So looks really good. But yeah, I'm excited to see Owen Wilson in this.
I'm so excited. I miss Owen Wilson. We've also got Sophia DiMartino going to be joining the cast, and there's a very specific scene I want to quickly just talk about on the trailer where we see what I originally I think a lot of people thought was Black Widow, but upon further inspection, and I think people really started to look at it, there's speculation that could be Lady Loki, and that Loki is going to be offered by the TVA a plea deal if he can capture and take down the lady version of himself, who seems to be causing more chaos than even he has. Darcy, is Lady Loki a big part of the MC or the Marvel comic universe?
Well, at one point, I mean, in the comic universe, Ragnarok happened, much like it did in the show, in the movies, but like, of course, differently. So once all the Asgardians were killed, they, of course, come back because they are gods. There's a cycle of rebirth among them. And when Loki was reborn, he was reborn into a woman's body, essentially, because they inhabited humans or descendants of themselves, essentially, that inhabited the world at this point. So he becomes a woman in that case, and is, again, probably one of the the evilest we've seen him in that body, because I don't know what they were trying to go for in the comic, but maybe they're saying women are evil. But it's interesting to see if that would be her, because just before, if we're gonna introduce Lady Loki before we get Lady Thor, like I don't know if they're testing the waters or what, but that'll be interesting to do. I mean, I can see it being a case. If that's the case, I also wouldn't be surprised if you see a younger Loki, because Loki there's been multiple versions of Loki existing at many times. That's kind of his whole thing, is he's the god of mischief and trickery. So even he tricks himself in that he has split himself into multiple consciousness. So it'd be interesting if this Lady Loki is even just a fractured persona of himself. Because again, that is part tied to his history in the comics.
Interesting. It's I think it's going to be cool. I hope that they play with the, again, we talked about the aspect of them playing with our mysteries. I hope they also play with some of those similar things that they kind of did with the jumping around in the timeline in Endgame. I think it would be really, really cool. We already see a scene with Loki in a post-apocalyptic New York. So maybe that's an alternate universe where Thanos was successful in his original attack. You see the Avengers building like completely destroyed,
shattered almost.
Super, super cool just to see these scenes. Loki, I am so excited. I actually think it's probably my favorite trailer that we saw from the presentation. Really, really stoked. But guys, what if flips the script on the MCU, reimagining famous events from the films in unexpected ways, coming summer 2021, so not that much longer of a wait in the summer. Marvel Studios' first animated series focus on different heroes from the MCU, featuring a voice cast that includes a host of stars who reprise their roles. I am super stoked to see What If. Justin, what did you take away from the trailer that they showed from this?
Just more or less what they've already shown, but it really affirms that there is an aesthetical look to it. Like, I think animation is probably the best way to do it, for it to feel like it's alternate without having to like reinvent some of these characters. Like, I don't know if I would really want to see some of these stories live action, but I love that they're animated.
Yes.
So I think that that's probably the best way to do it. But again, this one has been one that we've seen a lot of, actually. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of What If already and whatnot. So like this one, I thought this one was already going to be out, because the date doesn't even seem that concrete, does it? Like, it says summer 2021.
Right, it's a little more loose. Yeah,
it's very loose. It doesn't have like a month or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the coolest idea. I love some of the stuff that we've seen of Peggy Carter with the shield.
Peggy Carter looks great. I'm excited for T'Challa as Star-Lord.
Oh, yeah, so
awesome.
cool.
Like T'Challa Star-Lord, like that's
and Yondu
awesome.
being in the show, I think is super cool.
Yondu
right,
coming back,
him.
like, yep. No, I think my biggest takeaway from that one is I never thought I'd see them bring Marvel Zombies to the screen, and so seeing that, like a few clips of Bucky facing off Zombie Cap, I can only hope that we'll see more of that zombie universe, because that's one of their biggest multiverses, is the universe where everyone became a zombie. So it's such a fun idea and concept. So again, this What If is a perfect avenue to explore that thing. Like Justin said, you can't do that live action. You're not going to get kids watching a zombie movie. So
right,
like this even if it's just a one episode one-off, seeing into that universe is really cool.
Right, and that's really kind of the arch of their theme that they're trying to connect with. I think what we've kind of are looking at is multiverse, right? Because we are going to talk later about Doctor Strange and stuff like that, but there is this overarching theme of multiverse that is implicit in what has come out thus far for Marvel.
Phase 4 is multiverse.
Yes, exactly. And What If still plays with that idea and almost encourages it in a very unique way. And I would love to see them do the zombie series as like its own sort of thing. And that would be great if something successful from this What If series is like, okay, well, why don't we just do a series where it's just the zombie?
Yeah.
Yeah. It opens the door too for just again seeing that one little shot of that. It opens the door for some of their other very popular miniseries like Venomized, where all our favorite heroes become Venom and stuff like that. So going down the line with this What If series or doing more just like short miniseries, there's a lot more potential to explore these stories that would never make it to the big screen that they normally would try and do. So
to your point, guys, again, like we've seen Ahsoka in Mandalorian sort of be used as her episode as a soft pilot, right? So having this what if series, maybe what if season 1, season 2, these are all sort of ways that they can test the waters to say, cool, what was most popular, what really captured fans' attention, and what can we maybe make an entire animated series out that maybe still isn't canon, but still allows them to sort of explore those alternate comic worlds. Is so cool.
Yeah, but when it comes to Marvel, they got canon. They got so much that they have so much that they can pull from, and it's literally strategizing how you do it and not overwhelming the cohesiveness of what you already have established, right?
And so I think that's why, like you said, the cohesiveness is the big thing, because like a lot of their stories that are popular and are in the main timeline of their comic universe would just not work in the way that they've set up and built this cinematic thing. So I feel like this What If is a great avenue to explore those types of stories that, because of how they've already told the story to this point, they won't get a chance to explore eventually. So it's a different way of, again, they have so much to draw from, that whatever they don't make canon, they can still use and produce and explore, because people already love that stuff. Like me, again, reading all the comics, there's so much stories there for them to tell that I'm looking forward to seeing if they do go that route.
Very cool. And speaking of telling stories, again, getting to see stories told through the eyes of different cultures is not something that's just Disney and Pixar, but also Marvel, with Miss Marvel launching on Disney Plus in late 2021. So, I mean, that seems way sooner than I thought for this series. But it introduces Kamala Khan, a 16-year-old Pakistani American growing up in Jersey City, an avid gamer, a student, and a voracious fan fiction scribe. Sounds like you, Darcy. She has.
I don't write fan fiction. I don't go that far.
Okay. She has a special affinity for superheroes, particularly Captain Marvel. But this is going to be starring Iman Vellani, who's Canadian. Shout out to Canada again. Starring as Miss Marvel. Guys, did you get a chance to see the sizzle reel for this show? What did you think?
I'm really looking forward to it. The Miss Marvel's character, she's a very recent addition to the Marvel universe as in general. A couple of years old, like probably only 10 years old at the most, maybe.
Really?
In the comics. And
wow.
Just her introduction into the universe was almost like Peter Parker. She is the everyman's hero, because everyone can associate to her, even more so than Peter Parker, because of her her diversity, like her Pakistani background, and just how she's already gone through so much, like just societal tribulations before she became a hero, and the fact that she's a fan of all this stuff. Like, she is the modern Peter Parker, and in that everyone can relate to her in some way. So seeing the fact that they're bringing this so soon, and like again watching that sizzle reel, makes it look like they really thought this through. I'm really excited to see this on the Disney Plus.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how far along it is. Like, it looks like the first episode has been shot, like based on the footage that they've showed. Like, they showed a lot of like her home life and and her appeal for obviously Captain Marvel. But yeah, it looks like they are going pretty strong with this one, because it was a successful character. She is the most well-received character that they've introduced in the last decade. Like, people love her, and I can totally see why. Speaks to a very wide audience, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of something else that I think, again, late 2021, Hawkeye with Jeremy Renner, and then of course now confirmed finally Kate Bishop being played by Haley Steinfeld, which I am so stoked for. Going to be coming out late 2021. Guys, I guess what I want to know for this one, Darcy, what do you think this is going to pull from in terms of the comic book world?
So in the most recent run, like some of the most recent Hawkeye runs, because he's a popular character, they gave him his own comic, like they always do. He's training a protege in Kate Bishop that Haley Steinfeld will be playing. So he's looking for someone to help fill the role, because a big part of his character in the comics, and I'd be interested to see if they bring that to the screen, although they could easily do some other stories with him, but he's deaf and has been suffering with tinnitus and deafness his entire life. So in the comics, he gets to the point where he can basically hear like nothing anymore, and that's when he realizes that he can't do this forever. So it's basically a realization that he isn't superhuman. Like, he isn't. He's just a guy who's really good with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it'll be a really interesting exploration through that path again, where we're so used to all these superhuman heroes who seemingly can't die. With this guy who's realizing he is very mortal and very fragile.
So humanizing him. Yeah, he's a human. Yeah.
And I think if they don't go the deafness route again with what he's been through, having thought he lost his family and going on a vengeance fueled, binge killing spree across the world, and then realizing that that it was all change and what he did wasn't worth it. Like I feel like he's got some trouble past.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Darcy, because there have been production stills put out where you see Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop. She has like a guide dog or a therapy dog with her, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is some with Renner with a hearing aid in his ears. So so I do believe that you're right. I think they are actually going to go that route.
Yeah. Okay, so again, it's like his comic deals again with the fragility of a human hero, essentially. So that definitely is probably what they're going to explore with his series. Yeah,
that's cool. No, I think that's entirely it's 100% what is going to happen. That there's already enough information to really support that with the production stills that have been seen, right? So,
and Justin, does that mean Renner is not going to be Hawkeye? Like, are we going to get
he's done with it
him
too.
in another movie?
Yeah, I just think though that Renner's he's done with the character, right?
Yeah,
it's time for him to pass it on, right? And the same thing is going to happen with the next show that we're going to talk about, which is She-Hulk, right? Like She-Hulk is going to establish another Hulk character so that Ruffalo doesn't need to be around all the time. Do you know what I mean?
But really quick, I mean, Hulk is, I think more recently we've seen a lot of the comedy aspects of him. So let me just quickly read this description because I thought this was kind of weird. She-Hulk, a new comedy series coming to Disney Plus, starring Tatiana Maslany, which is awesome, as Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. She's a lawyer who specializes in superhuman-oriented legal cases, which I think is going to be really cool to see how they explore. I think that kind of pulls in like some of the boys' sort of comedy of the things that happen because of the heroes. And it's going to welcome a host of characters to the series, including, of course, the Hulk himself, played by Mark Ruffalo, who's going to be there. Abomination, played by Tim Roth,
Bringing back Tim Roth,
which is super cool. So I mean, like a comedy series. Was that what you guys were expecting?
Yes, entirely.
Really?
Having read some of her comics, because her whole thing is she is a Hulk, but she doesn't Hulk out when she's angry. She Hulks out when she's calm, when she's completely centered herself.
Really?
That's when she's a Hulk.
Wow.
Which, being a lawyer, you need to be calm and focused on task at hand at all times.
Yeah.
So she is basically almost permanently hulked out. So that's why they say like she's in the stream when Kevin Feige is introducing her, talks about how she's like 6'7" and green, and that's just she's a working lady who is 6'7" and green. So I think that'll be a really it opens the door to a lot of comical things. Basically, she wants to be normal. The only reason she hulked out is because she needed a blood transfusion, and her cousin, the Hulk, Bruce Banner, was the only person who could give her a blood transfusion. So she didn't ask for this. She's just trying to do her own thing, and I can't wait.
That sounds like a comedy right there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like just like
you got the blood from your superhero cousin? No wonder you're all green.
Right? Like it writes itself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think it makes sense that this goes a comedy route. And again, another example of superheroes mixing with other genres that are obviously not familiar to superheroes, because we have things like The Boys, like you're saying, and other things that have a very comedy tone-esque. But I just mean it'll be like it could be like an Ally McBeal Law and Order superhero genre show. You know what I mean? Like it'll be fun, right? Like there'll probably be a bit of a romantic comedy in it as well. Like it's going to be a fun. It sounds like it could be fun. I don't know.
I think it's going to be a really fun. There's a lot that writes itself with that series. Just the silly things that they can do with again a hulked out lawyer.
Very cool. Guys, another new series, Moon Knight, coming to Disney Plus. This one does not have a release date yet. Directed by Mohamed Diab. It's an action adventure that features, and this is kind of cool because I didn't know about this. A complex vigilante suffers from dissociative identity disorder. The multiple identities who live inside him are distinct characters who appear against a backdrop of Egyptian iconography. Darcy, you're dancing or something. I don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
You seem so excited for Moon Knight.
Moon Knight was probably one of my favorite comic book characters from Marvel.
Really?
Me and my buddy have always been a fan of his stuff, and I remember like 6 years ago, I was reading his ongoing series, and me and my friend, the way that the story was written was each comic issue was like a standalone episode of a TV show. Like the way it was wrote, like paced and everything like that, works so well to the TV show genre, because his character is, like they said, is dissociative identity disorder. So they've done that a few different ways over his tenure as a hero in Marvel. One such story had him having personalities of Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine in his head. So he adopted their fighting styles, in that he had a web shooter, he had a shield,
cool.
he had the claws, and he basically had conversations with these heroes in his head and let them fight or inspire his fighting technique. Now, I don't know if they're going to go that route. I would love to see that, but I doubt it. More recently, they have basically broken up his character into 3 parts. There's Mark Spector, the average man. He was an explorer who was left for dead in Egypt, and in that on the death's doorstep, he makes a deal with the moon god Khonshu, which allows him to be his avatar in the real world. So that's how he gets his powers, and that basically will not change. So we will probably see some aspect of that in the show, but going forward, he creates the personality of Moon Knight, very much a Batman-styled hero, where he has all these tech and gadgets that he uses to fund his vigilantism across the city. And my favorite and most recent addition that they've really started driving home with the Moon Knight character is the Mr. Knight aspect. So he's a suited man with a white hood over that just has a simple moon on his forehead, and he's basically a detective. He goes around solving the hardest mysteries that no one wants to touch, because he's only crazy enough to do with it. He is crazy enough to do with these things that everyone thinks like, oh, that's just ghosts or something or whatever. And he's like, nope, that is something else, and I will find the bottom of it. And it is, I cannot wait. Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight will probably be one of the...
That's a very good point that you mentioned. There was a rumor that, or at least some sort of an article that said that Oscar Isaac is going to be Moon Knight, and we talked about that. But it's funny how they did not mention him in this paragraph. It makes me wonder, is there still something going on with maybe timing, and which is why there's no date associated with it, right? There's no definitive date. So maybe there's just a bit of a pushback on it. I think everything's up in the air right now, though. Right? Based on,
again, like the no date on it. And like I said, with him having having those other heroes as characters in his head, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to wait a bit to see if they can potentially bring those characters into an episode or something like that.
The second route that you were talking about of this character and where he's at now sounds very much more conventional to what they could do very effectively, right? Like they could really tell that story. I only really knew Moon Knight as yes, he's a comic character within Marvel, but I never read his comics, and everyone always said, oh, he's the coolest character ever, and Batman-esque was kind of the pitch for Moon Knight, and I could see value in bringing that kind of character into the MCU, right? And someone who has maybe like a Sherlock Holmes style approach to solving things would be really interesting.
There's a lot of potential in that show, and I've always thought that, so I'm really excited to see this come to fruition.
Hopefully it does for Moon Knight as the character what I think Iron Man did for Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just bringing that to general audiences. I think that's huge. Okay, next up, Secret Invasion is a newly announced series starring Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn coming back as the Skrull.
Well, this is the Shield.
Talos.
This is the Nick Fury show that I guess everyone was talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sort of breaks off of that last scene I think that we saw with Nick Fury. Darcy, what is Secret Invasion all about?
So Secret Invasion is one of the most popular Marvel events of all time. It is when, as the description of the show is basically Skrulls have infiltrated human society on every level and have been here for years, and it's them finally using their positions to overthrow human society, essentially. So, given how Captain Marvel ended, where we saw all those Skrulls coming to seek refuge on Earth and having been there in the 80s, is setting up for that storyline where they have been here forever, they've worked their ways up to all these different levels, and are basically ingrained almost to the point, like almost Hydra situation, where they control or have a hand in everything.
But are they bad guys?
So that's the thing. Skrulls, there are the ones we saw in Marvel were refugees clearly, but more in the comics they're known as enemies to the Kree. So again, another alien race. They are strictly always seen as an enemy, mainly against the Fantastic Four. So it'd be interesting to see if we see Super Skrulls introduced in this show, because again, it's down the line. They've announced Fantastic Four coming out at some point.
Yep.
So if they start dropping hints at that using the Fantastic or the Super Skrulls who have the powers or similar powers to the Fantastic Four, be an interesting way to go that way. Another thing that happened in Secret Invasion was Spider-Man getting the symbiote suit for the first time. So while Venom has already been established in Sony's universe, if they find some way to bring that back and have Peter put on the suit in Secret Invasion, would be a defining moment from the comics brought to light for once on the screen. So that could be a really cool moment. Again, I don't know if they could do that or how they'd go about doing that given the current situation with Sony. So
maybe they bring that to the live action TV side of Marvel, right? I think it's interesting seeing Samuel L. Jackson so readily moving into a series. But do you think that him being on Disney Plus, a TV series for the Marvel Universe, might mean that we get to see him, as we've been speculating, in maybe another Disney-owned property?
Oh, I see. He's showing up in. That is interesting.
It'd be interesting,
right? I think like that almost really pushes the theory that we've all got that he's going to be Mace Windu in The Mandalorian.
I also feel like he's on board to do this show, the show, because he loves the character of Nick Fury to the point where they created the new Nick Fury in the Ultimate Universe of the comics based on Samuel Jackson. So it's near and dear to his heart, clearly. Like, he loves the fact that comic creators out there are like, you are cool enough to be a comic character on your own, and he gets to do that in this show. Yeah, he has a lot of fun with it, I think.
Well, speaking of things that are close to people's hearts, Ironheart is another. That was a terrible transition. Another Disney, another Disney Plus show series starring Dominic Thorne as Riri Williams, a genius inventor who creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. Super cool. I guess this is going to be our replacement for Tony Stark, then, right?
Well, yeah, in the comics, she is considered the inheritor of Tony Stark's, will and his creative ingenuity. She creates a suit of armor for herself in her garage, just, using whatever parts she can find. And she makes it a better suit than Iron Man or than Tony Stark made his first time. So that goes a long way to the point where she ends up gaining the attention of the Stark Foundation. And after Tony Stark's passing in the comics, she inherits his technology, his entire lab, all his resources become hers eventually. And this comes with the holographic AI that is Tony Stark. So she learns from Tony Stark's AI ghost, essentially, and becomes the hero that is known as Ironheart. It'd be interesting to see if we have even just a voice cameo of some sort of Tony Stark in this series. Because
with Robert Downey. Yeah.
With Robert Downey, because he is his Pepper, his Friday. That is her onboard system is just Tony Stark.
Right.
Oh, cool.
So it'd be interesting to see if they go that route, if they could get Robert Downey Jr. back for that. But again,
cost a lot of money.
It would cost a lot of money, but the character has a lot of stuff, is really cool on her own, because again, she did this all on her own without any help, and then got the assistance of it. So she was able to make leaps and bounds with her studies, just because she was recognized for being the talent that she was.
Right.
So yeah, really cool story there. And again, it's bringing youth back to the team so you can get more maybe longevity out of these characters and watch them grow up, which is a lot of comic stories deal with, is the growth of the character. And so with young characters, that you can see that growth easily, I think. So
that's cool, because it'll give fans the ability to kind of grow up with these characters, right? And younger fans. And we're seeing Miss Marvel going to being appearing in the next Captain Marvel. We've got the young Riri Williams. We've got Kate Bishop coming in, right? Like, we're kind of getting all of these. I think honestly, this is our next huge team that they're slowly building, and even seeing it with Black Widow, with the replacement with Florence Pugh coming in. Or Pug. I never know how to pronounce her name. Seeing her character come in, I just think that's so cool that we are literally getting the Young Avengers storyline, but then again, as fans getting to sort of see them grow up. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, we're seeing an all female too, right? Like it's a very
so far,
right. Like these could be like it could be an all young female Avengers team, right? Because I think Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie Lang.
Yeah, she becomes like a giant man hero as well. I can't remember her name. Stature, here's her name. That's it.
Oh, cool.
So there's a lot of groundwork that's being laid here for a cross event that would be, like, to your point, Nate, a Young Avengers, but I think it's all female.
They call that A-Force in the comics.
A-Force,
A-Force?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe that was a comic run that they did for a while. It was an all.
So that's the series. That's what the crossover series is.
She-Hulk
was
on it too. So like,
boom, there you go.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
She-Hulk too. There you go. Right.
Like,
so
there's
We've
a lot
solved
of,
it. We've solved the puzzle. Marvel, you can't keep up with us.
Exactly.
But speaking of Armor Wars. I'm really trying, guys. With Don Cheadle coming back as War Machine, super stoked. Who must face what happens when Tony Stark's tech falls into the wrong hands. Justin, are you stoked to see a Don Cheadle focused series on the Disney Plus?
I'm happy that they're finding a way to leverage this platform to tell the offshoot stories of some of these characters.
Yeah,
like to do that with Don Cheadle's character and to really, who knows? This could be his way of sending off his character, right?
True. Yeah.
So if this is how Don Cheadle does it, he really kind of rounds out his character of Rhodes. Then that'd be great. You know what I mean? That would be a great way to send it off.
To your point, and one of the things I love about how they're really pulling from the comic books is, yes, they're pulling from the comic books, but they're changing things. They're changing subtle things. So, what if it's actually War Machine that ends up bringing in Riri Williams? Like, what if it's actually War Machine that ends up being the Tony Stark for her instead? Maybe they can't get Robert Downey involved, and so maybe it's more along the lines of he is the one to get the tech into the right hands, which is Riri Williams. And you could still have a Robert Downey moment in there. But how cool would that be, right? As a way to sort of send off, as you said, Don Cheadle's character.
That actually makes a whole lot of sense of how they could do it, because I don't know if they'd be able to get Tony Stark unless it was just a one-time sort of like a message to Rhodes.
Correct.
And then that message to Rhodes, he shares it to her.
We should be writing this stuff,
right? Like
guys.
he shares
we should be writing this stuff. What are we doing?
But anyways, they do say that those two series will be in many ways crossed over or related to each other. Did they not? I thought that I thought they implied
I'm pretty sure they did say that. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I've read the Ironheart comics and her origin. I believe Rhodes actually does play a part in the discovery of her. Like he hears about someone flying a suit and being in the Air Force. He goes to investigate. And I think that's how, I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. I could be mistaken. But I think what Armor Wars is really cool, is that it's exploring basically Iron Man 2 with Justin Hammer trying to recreate Tony Stark's tech. It'd be cool to see him come back in some form, having gotten his hands on the tech and leads to these. Because, again, his character I thought was great and was severely underused, and just that movie as a whole was kind of a flop. But it's neat that they are revisiting one of those things that they've kind of already talked about in the universe.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, guys, don't have long to wait because, well, that one actually, no, that does not have a release date, but that's okay. Hopefully,
no, but
soon.
It's cool projects that they're working on. Like it does really show that they are putting a lot of focus into Disney Plus. From this offering, because I think we got a couple more shows. Like we got a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which is going to be incredible. It's going to be awesome.
I'm so.
I
excited.
like that. James Gunn's coming back, and he wants to do like. It feels like it's going to be like a Star Wars holiday thing, but you know what I mean. But
yeah,
but
what character will be the Boba Fett of this special?
yeah,
That's what I'm
exactly.
wondering.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Rocket.
And then taking.
We already know Rocket.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Who are they going to introduce?
Yeah,
through?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And then the I Am Groot, the animated one. Like that's a great way to again connect kids and content that parents would want to share with their kids. This Disney Plus offering is very rich with universe building stuff. They feel very isolated as their own genre focused, and even just based on seeing the 3 previews that we saw, they look different from one another. Mm-hmm. Right, so there's a strategy.
Specific set tones.
Exactly, there's a strategy. And I don't know, Darcy. Like maybe it kind of feels like a comic book strategy. Like a comic book way to look at how this content is distributed through this platform.
Treat them all as individual stories.
Exactly.
And tell them in the way that they tell themselves.
Exactly.
Like a lot of this stuff, right? Like when you set up a storyline, it kind of drives itself when you put a character into the shoes. Like with Loki, the mischief. Blends perfectly to a crime thriller or a spy thriller with him constantly trying to outsmart someone type thing. It's right up his alley. So like you said, they each have their own tone and they're setting it really strongly, I think. So
Yeah.
Very cool. Guys, just moving into feature films from Marvel, and then we'll move to the next section here. Really quickly, I'll just list them off, and I want you guys to tell me which one you're most excited about and why. We've got Black Widow, May 7th, 2021. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, July 9th, 2021. Then Eternals in November of 2021, November 5th. We've got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in March 25th of 2022. Thor: Love and Thunder, which is May 6th, 2022, which begins filming next month. And Black Panther 2 on July 8th, 2022.
We'll talk a little bit more about Black Panther in a second, but right off the bat, Black Widow, I think we've seen enough. We need to see it in theaters. I don't know if Disney should just bite the bullet and say, okay, let's just put this on the streaming platform.
Just put it on the platform.
Right?
Yeah.
But they really want Black Widow's first, like her
the
solo
one that
story.
everyone has been waiting
for.
Since she was introduced, people have been waiting for this movie. They wanted to give it the proper release.
Exactly. And I feel like that's the only reason why they're so stringent on not posting it to Disney Plus for at least some sort of purchase price. Shang-Chi, they just wrapped, and they're gonna run through post, and I'm interested to see, they've rounded out their characters, right? We have Tony Leung, we have Awkwafina, we have Michelle Yeoh. The cast is feeling, and the director, obviously, this feels like a very much Mulan done better, where it's not just about representing the culture, but it's also behind the scenes how the culture is also represented, right? The crew that's making it up. To me, there's a real push for this to almost be the same sort of caliber of storytelling as Black Panther, for the cultural purposes. I was surprised with Eternals. Eternals, they didn't show anything other than that this is supposed to be a huge movie. Darcy, do you think you can kind of enlighten us a little bit? Because I think Eternals is one that I'm entirely not fully familiar with.
Even myself, I'm not the biggest, I don't know much about the Eternals. I do know that in some way they are related to Thanos.
Right.
Thanos does have a connection to the Eternals at some point. They are essentially, they are almost god level creatures or beings in the universe, and it's, from what I remember, is that it's a very infighty, almost Game of Thronesy. I know it's weird to say that with Richard Madden being in it, but it's a very internal conflict, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I don't know much about Eternals. It's some of the Marvel titles I'm very not well versed in, because they release so much. It's hard to keep up to track on all of it.
Right.
But I believe
it says in the description that it spans thousands of years. And to your point, being involved with Thanos, do we see Thanos show up in this movie?
I don't know about that. It'd be hard to do.
Referenced, maybe. He might be referenced.
Maybe, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But again, I can't remember exactly how he is connected. I think it is more just...
He is an Eternal, is he not? I thought he was an Eternal.
He's not...
a deviant.
He's a mutant. He's a mutant of an Eternal, which I believe is a deviant. Okay. Again, I don't know the most about that stuff. I've read some of Thanos' origin story, and I've heard these names mentioned before in passing, but outside of that, I'm very in the dark for the Eternals.
So anyways, I'm excited because they say this is their boldest, like Feige was like, this is our boldest, this is our most different. And I'm just like, well, where is it? Because I thought you guys, I'm pretty sure they wrapped production if I wasn't mistaken. So I don't know if there's a holdup because.
I mean, we're seeing it in less than a year.
Right. But like even still, this movie was supposed to be out November of this year.
Yeah. This is this is announced for a while.
Oh, really?
So it's been delayed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's been no sort of thing, but the cast is huge. There is a lot of things. So I really do hope that there's more information. I think it's just kind of fallen off the radar, though. That, in my opinion, right? Like it's just because it's so outside of this whole Marvel. Machine.
They're not main characters that show up regularly or frequently in the Marvel stories.
Yeah.
So it is a very untouched portion of the Marvel
So I'm
universe.
wondering if there's just some sort of there's just maybe a struggle with the narrative elements of trying to make it work. Who knows? Because there's no trailer.
I wouldn't be surprised if they are having trouble with that, because again, they are all incredibly powerful characters in their own right. So trying to deal with like how would you see that, or how would that look in the universe type thing?
Sure, yeah. And I mean, we've got the Avengers, they've got a god, right, on their side, but like even still it's like that's one, whereas this is I don't even know how many of these.
It's a family of gods.
We're family of gods,
right? Yeah.
So I could see that being hard to balance. But I mean, one of the big things that we're seeing as well with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Justin, you talked about, I think the Marvel Universe is already so well touched upon comedy, within Guardians, and of course with the previous Taika Thor movie. I think this is going to be a horror film, and I'm so stoked to see it be actually scary. I want it to be actually scary.
Feige
though.
says
I
that
don't
it's
want it to
bold.
be...
He says it's a bold take for them to get into
Cool.
like horror genre, right? Like it's clear that there's going to be a layer of scariness to this. But the more important thing is that the events that we will see in WandaVision will influence that. So I think by the end of that season, we are going to know what is going on with Wanda, obviously, and where she might be as a character, or what's going on with her. That's going to influence the events of Doctor Strange, right? So,
but also and I mean, I know this isn't on the list, I don't think, but it also has to do with the next Spider-Man film. Right, we got word earlier that Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be in the next Spider-Man movie, and we've already heard some stuff about
two more Peter Parkers gracing the screen.
2 more Peter Parkers, and of course, I think there's rumors that we're going to get Gwen
Alfred
Stacy
Molina's
and
Dr. Octopus.
And Dr. Octopus. Alfred Molina has been cast, so this whole alternate universe thing, they're really, I think they saw, Marvel was like, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that Sony film beat them to the punch, and they probably already had plans to go through all this stuff. But I really think that the popularity of that movie expedited their push to really say we need to get into multiverse.
For sure. I totally agree with that Sony beat them by posting that movie, but I think that Spider-Man really already lends itself, because it is so enriched in its story, that the multiverse makes sense. So for Sony to just jump on that, good for them to realize that. But what Marvel gets to do is really draw it out with their characters and their universe, and what that rich investment, right? Like they spent their load in one movie, and they're now going to do a live action version of it, and then that's pretty much it. It's more of an inspiration for Marvel to move their characters in the multiverse direction. So it makes a lot of sense. I feel like these events are going to have some sort of effect on Thor: Love and Thunder, which is why we might have a Jane Foster Thor. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. Like I'm wondering if that plays a part as into
definitely.
Why.
Right. That could work. Yeah.
Again, going to pop out my little catchphrase here in the comics. So the story that the Gore the God Butcher is part of, it leads to the storyline where Thor becomes unworthy. Like Thor loses an arm in his fight against Gore and becomes unworthy to wield the hammer of Thor, and he just becomes Odinson. And so his hammer is left sitting on the moon where he had his final battle, untouched, until it gets picked up by Jane Foster. So it's not even like they need to do a multiverse thing for that. I feel like we heard that Gore the God Butcher name drop, we know that this is going to be one of Thor's hardest fights ever. This is what leads him to become the King Thor that we see in the comics, who sits at the end of the universe, proudly ruling Valhalla still, in Asgard.
Really?
So this is going to have some really big ramifications in Thor's storyline, because again, Gore is such a pivotal character that he fought against, and is so strong. He killed all the other gods in the Marvel universe, and then set his sights on Asgard, realizing that this is going to be easy too. And then he comes against Thor, and that's where we get the story.
Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what he brings to that character, because that character is so smart, and just the way that he's written in the comics is he's so memorable. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Batman plays a God Butcher. Like there's so much there.
But to what I was going to say earlier, it really sounds like Phase 4 and maybe the beginning of Phase 5 is the transition phase. It's the phase of transitioning over to these new heroes. Miss Marvel from Captain Marvel, right? She-Hulk from Hulk. We've got, like everything we've been talking about, right? Riri coming in. Like, I feel like this is going to very clearly be the passing of the torch phase. And just kind of getting to our one of our next ones here, Black Panther 2. Which is coming out on July 8th, 2022.
Yeah, this one here is a hard one to kind of talk about, right? Because
100%,
right? Like, they've gone on the record now saying that, with honoring Chadwick Boseman's legacy, that they're not recasting T'Challa as Black Panther, right? Yeah. Like, he will be T'Challa, the Black Panther, forever. So this has now obviously gotten, the director, Ryan Coogler, in a writing storm to really try to drive that. And I feel like he has to be the one that's really going to try to drive the direction of where this movie's going to go. Like, who could it be that they would cast for a new Black Panther? Like, is that possible, Darcy? Like, with your comic book experience, knowledge?
In the comics, it's been, again, Black Panther is not one of the ones I'm a big fan of, but I have read some of his more recent stories. Shuri plays a big part in his storyline, in that he does see her as a warrior. She is a fighter and a hero in her own right in the comics. So with her being being a fighter and being so prominent in the MCU, I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route again, with the whole female pushing that female driven cast forward. Other than that, it's really hard to say, because in the comics he's always been the Black Panther, and he is. So it's very weird it's going to be weird to see a Black Panther movie where he's not the Black Panther. It's going to be
T'Challa.
Odd,
Yeah, no, I
not
hear
T'Challa.
you.
Not like no T'Challa association to the Black Panther.
I know. Yeah,
is a very interesting. It hasn't really been done before in the comics, as far as I know.
So they're going to have to basically reinvent the character, which makes me kind of concerned, because the actress who plays Shuri, Letitia Wright, she's been very vocal about just either stopping making the Black Panther movie as a total respect to Chadwick Boseman, and not really wanting to really jump into doing this, because she's still really feeling the emotional weight of that, which is fair, because this would have to come out July 8th, 2022, which means that they need to start shooting at some point next year, early 2021, right? To get this out in time. I'm just wondering, though, if they don't necessarily choose Shuri, but they choose Lupita Nyong'o's character, Nakia, who, because Shuri's not ready, or she just, she doesn't want that responsibility, but she can't see herself in that sort of thing. But, maybe T'Challa does pass in the storyline, as part of the storyline, and whomever steps in is really doing the voice of standing up for T'Challa, right? So I think that there is that idea. So it really comes down to Ryan Coogler writing a really great story, and who he can sell that to say, you need to be this new Black Panther, right? So.
I mean, another name that I was thinking of, possibly from the movies at least, is M'Baku had a great presence in the movie, the leader of the gorilla tribe. So it'd be interesting to see, after the reconciliation between their tribes, maybe that leads to him stepping in as maybe not the Black Panther in name, but like definitely in essence, because
We've talked about in the past Skywalker almost being a new version of Jedi, and maybe they become the Skywalkers. So to that same idea, maybe Black Panther becomes the name of the group of people that are living in Wakanda. They are the Black Panther, right? They all are the Black Panther. I could see them maybe going that
I
route.
would see them sooner. Yeah, I would sooner see them calling Black Panther T'Challa, right? Like, and it's no longer called Black Panther,
interesting.
right? Like, he's no longer.
you are the T'Challa.
Yeah, you're T'Challa, right? Like, you're T'Challa.
Oh, I like that too. I like that too.
Yeah,
oh,
so.
wow. Hopefully Ryan Coogler's
He has a
he's
task,
working
man.
hard. I'm
He has a
sure
task.
He's
It's
got,
gonna
it's
be
a
hard.
huge task. It's really
daunting.
tough. Yeah. Kind of just really quickly, guys, just to round out here, we got Blade. They announced that a while ago. Mahershala Ali is going to be involved. Captain Marvel 2. We've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which sounds like a wrestling thing. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is going to be in 2023. And Fantastic Four, finally confirmed to be into the MCU. Guys, what of these movies excites you the most?
They're all exciting, man. Like, Blade is going to be a fantastic with Mahershala Ali. Like, that's a great casting. Obviously, there's nothing to show other than the fact that they're still working on it and they still have everyone attached to it. So that's good to know. Captain Marvel 2, I'm interested to see if this is really gonna. I think Monica Rambeau is going to be more of the torch passer in this one versus then Miss Marvel, because I think Miss Marvel is going to be her own character, but she's here. She's
a very different power set than Captain Marvel.
Right.
She just idolizes her as
it right. Yeah,
okay.
exactly. She's a fan.
Okay.
So Monica Rambeau is definitely going to be the one that's getting the torch pass to in this one, because I don't know if I'm surprised that Brie Larson isn't, like, she might be contractually obligated to at least 3 movies. Right, but is that already taken care of now that she did Avengers, Endgame as well? Like, she was in that, so sometimes those movies count. So she could be moving on.
But I think Tiana Paris is in WandaVision.
Yes.
And we talked about her in the trailer. So to see her as a grown up Monica Rambeau there, coming into Captain Marvel 2, I think. Absolutely, right? Like, we're establishing yet again, a passing of the torch. But that's interesting. So, Justin, are you saying Brie Larson doesn't want to keep doing these Captain Marvel movies?
I'm wondering, though. I'm wondering if that's
you're getting?
I'm wondering if that's the impression, or if it's more or less the idea that, like, I think there are people that are just like, they don't want to necessarily be attached to just doing superhero movies. Do you know what I mean? I could see Brie Larson being that kind of person who's like, I want to do my contribution, but I don't want to necessarily feel obligated or contractually tied to having to do it. But she wants to set the right precedent. She enjoys the messaging, so she's finding her way to do that in this sort of capacity. So she might be passing the torch, because Monica Rambeau's character, I think, is, I don't know, far cooler than Captain Marvel to a certain degree. Like,
yeah, like it's weird. I can't remember how she got her powers, but she's a being of a pure light. So much like how Captain Marvel got her powers from the quantum energy or whatever that she was exposed to from the Kree, Monica Rambeau was in a similar sort of accident and was converted into pure energy. So she is even stronger than Captain Marvel in that she is just energy. There's nothing else to her but energy. So she can manipulate all types of waves and radioactive and electromagnetic stuff just because of the properties of her being. So there's a lot of potential with that character to explore. Again, it goes more into, they go more sciencey, because again, she's related to the Ultimates team with Dr. Bashir and all this stuff. So it opens up another aspect and avenue to characters we haven't even heard in the MCU yet. So it's very neat to see that she's going to be starting to get the spotlight.
That's good. Well, like Ant-Man and the Wasp with, like, Quantum Mania, which was like a wrestling thing, like WrestleMania.
Quantum Mania.
Like, so Kang the Conqueror is in this film, which, like, Darcy, isn't he like
known
a huge
time traveler? Yeah.
So okay. So
he is known for messing around with the time the most out of any Marvel villain or character for that matter. He has conquered through generations or still, like, eras. He has had a presence in and conquered to some extent. So he is a very very big hand in messing up the timelines. He's also one of the most powerful enemies that the Avengers have faced because of his ability to access everything across time. So he could be the next Thanos level enemy.
But that's what I'm wondering. Like, it's crazy that, like, you know, that we're talking about a high tier villain like that, and he's being introduced through Ant-Man.
Well,
right?
I mean, Thanos was introduced through Guardians of the Galaxy, which, when it was first released, was just considered a joke of a movie because you had a talking raccoon in a tree.
Sure.
Like, there's
Sure. Yeah.
The comics are inherently ridiculous.
Yeah,
That
but
is kind of what makes
his
them
first
so
first reveal though, Thanos' first reveal was the end of Avengers, right? Right, it was in 2012 when he's on that rock. Like, yes, you're not introduced to his character like, you know, with talking lines, but you get introduced to the idea that he's in the universe in an Avengers movie, right? Like, he was the one who brought that war on the Avengers. Like, you established that. So Kang the Conqueror, I imagine he's huge. He's massive. Doesn't he have Galactus and Silver? Aren't there Galactus connections?
He's manipulated Galactus before. He's manipulated a lot of the big baddies in the Marvel, universe. Because he is one of the smartest villains that they'll face, and that he knows how to use time against anyone, and how he can go from he'll introduce technology from one era to another to completely overturn it.
Wow, that's really cool.
So that is kind of his whole shtick, is using technologies from other eras to his advantage in the era that he's currently trying to dominate. So I think that's neat because Quantum Mania, I mean, it makes sense with the Ant-Man and the Wasp being his introduction because of their connection to the time travel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we wouldn't have gotten time travel
sense.
without them. So
yeah.
that makes sense to me that they introduce him here because, again, it makes the most sense. The only other place I could see them potentially nodding to him or alluding to him would be in the Loki series.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Because of that TVA being so adamant about keeping the timeline in its order, I feel like Kang would probably be on the top of their enemy list. But even just a name throwaway, I wouldn't be surprised if we got that.
And with the acting capabilities of Jonathan Majors, who I love in Lovecraft Country, if you haven't already watched Lovecraft Country, please watch Lovecraft Country. He is such a powerful presence on screen that I love that idea of that contrast between the comedic aspects of Ant-Man and the Wasp that we've seen in the previous movies, and this acting force that is Jonathan Majors. I think is super cool, and I really like the idea that I mean, I really hope, but I really like the idea that we're speculating that he's not a one-off villain. He's going to be brought, maybe he is the next Thanos.
Yeah, I totally think he might be the next Thanos. Even because going back to your Young Avengers comments earlier, he's been a villain against the Young Avengers in their comic line. So like he is a villain across generations of the Marvel universe. He has fought pretty much everyone at some point. So he is no small fish by any means.
Yeah. Well, other than that being a very revelating part of the who we're seeing in these movies. You got Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which we know James Gunn is going to be coming back to do, which, we haven't seen anything. We don't know anything. So we're just going to wait for Suicide
It's the furthest out, right?
It's the furthest
2023.
Yeah. And then you got Fantastic Four, which I am like, the fact that that John Watts is on board to direct just makes me feel like they want to capture the world that they created in Spider-Man and then bring it over to Fantastic Four so they can still keep it in that pocket, right? Like I wonder if he's going to treat it like a bit of a spin-off. Do you know what I mean? Like
I think he totally will. I mean, given even the history of the character's association with the Fantastic Four, like Spider-Man has been on the Fantastic Four at some point. So even if he's not in it at all, he's best friends with the Human Torch. Like he has a kid. There's kids growing up in Fantastic Four. There was the kid in Johnny Torch that everyone associated with. So just having him come back to do maybe more of a family aspect or thing it makes a lot of sense. Like he's going to be able to continue that, like you said, that world where like it's the young heroes trying to find their way in this crazy world.
And that's actually a question. Could they do a young version of Fantastic Four based on what has been done in the comics? Like, is there enough there?
Yes, there is. I mean, like when the Fantastic Four started, they were technically kids. Like we've seen their origin done a couple times now, and the one most recently where they were younger was closer to their original adventure and origin story.
The cool thing about all of this is that I love how we've gotten to this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we've gotten audiences, or they Marvel's gotten audiences so comfortable with the aspect of multiverses, the aspect of going to space, and it really does feel like, looking at the order of these films and seeing Guardians 3 at the end of this slate and Fantastic Four at the end of this slate, I feel like we're just going to keep going into space, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited about kind of exploring those weird aspects of all of these Marvel properties. But guys, let's dive right into the Star Wars stuff. Of course, some of this we already knew. Like, for instance, they confirmed the new Star Wars feature that is going to be made by Taika Waititi. And, quote, Taika's approach to Star Wars will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. His enormous talent and sense of humor will ensure that audiences are in for an unforgettable ride. Justin, what do you want out of a Taika Waititi Star Wars movie?
I think they described it fresh, unexpected, and unique. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what Star Wars kind of needs right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like especially from a movie standpoint. Like, I think with Taika Waititi, like, it's the best buy-in. People love Taika, right?
Yeah.
And people like Star Wars, so they'll be more open to it.
I just hope that he really does the job that I think we've talked about in the past, which is let's get away from the Skywalkers, right? Like, let's go to the far reaches of the galaxy, and maybe even give us, similar to what we got in Rebels, give us a whole new group of people. And you know what? If you want to reference lightsabers, if you want to reference droids, absolutely, go for it. Even the Force, I don't care. But let's just get away from the Skywalkers, because we can explore that in maybe a few other things just a little bit more. But I want fresh, all right? I want that unexpected. I think that's going to be so cool.
Yeah, I think that's the selling point for me, at least. So
I just think that I'm looking forward to it. Again, the way he took on Thor and completely changed everyone's expectations of what that character was about. I think that he's going to be a really fresh take on the Star Wars genre. Again, there's a whole galaxy that we haven't explored yet, and I think he can find a cool corner to really flesh out and create for himself.
Yeah, very cool. And I mean, I remember that scene I think it was the episode he directed. Was that the scene of The Mandalorian with the two stormtroopers, that cold open where they're trying to shoot the can?
Yeah.
That he directed that, right? So, like, if that's the kind of comedy that we're gonna get in a Star Wars movie, like some of that sort of Thor comedy that we saw, I am so in, and I hope there's somebody with a New Zealand accent, and he's going to be playing them. And then Rogue Squadron, Star Wars film to hit the big screen in Christmas of 2023. It's going to be a long wait for it. But guys, Rogue Squadron movie, Patty Jenkins is going to be introducing a story with a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in a boundary-pushing, high-speed thrill ride, and move the saga into the future era of the galaxy. That's really interesting. The future era of the galaxy, guys. Is this post episode 9?
I think so. I do think so.
Really?
I think that.
Wow.
I think the intent here is to almost do like a Top Gun, Star Wars movie, right? Like it kind of sounds like it could be, something like that, right? But real conviction. In the little trailer that I guess they released of Patty Jenkins kind of announcing this project, she made a very big point of pointing out that her father was a fighter pilot as well. And there's this deep connection of wanting to tell a story in that world, and then applying it to Star Wars just made sense, right? Like it's the place that a story like that can live.
It really does. When you think about how George Lucas was very inspired by the Air Force, and how each of the pilots brought personality to their craft and everything like that. So it definitely is the avenue to explore that type of story in the Star Wars universe.
And anytime a director makes like a very like personal connection like that, I feel like there's great intention to put love into that movie. So I feel like this movie will be done with that sort of sentiment from her. And it'll just have the nuance of Star Wars. And it might be really refreshing to see a very Star Wars universe with no one that is actually Force sensitive or a Jedi. And
just give us a bunch of pilots who are good at flying.
Exactly. Right? Like a Rogue One, but like they don't die at the end. Right? And become useless.
Spoilers for Rogue One. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. And I think, to your point, Justin, her being the right person, because I think we definitely felt some Star Wars fatigue, and seeing all this stuff announced and having it be released in such rapid succession, I'm assuming, it lends the thought to the idea that it's possible we might end up starting to feel that fatigue again. But maybe the fact that we are getting those fresh people like Taika and now Patty Jenkins, it'll help it to sort of continue staying fresh. Maybe that means that won't happen even with such a fast release pace.
I also think it's just people taking it outside of the mold of what might be existing, right? Like, not to say that J.J. Abrams didn't do a great job making Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker fit with the existing trilogy, so it could end it, but that's all that was intended to do. The real thing is that Star Wars needs to just branch off and tell new stories outside of that. Skywalkers have influenced the galaxy, and they could be hinted at and mentioned, but there doesn't need to be stories that are about the Skywalkers or stories about just Jedi and dark side and good side. There's other stories in this galaxy, so start introducing that, and I think that's the approach that they're starting to realize that they can do.
Very cool. And speaking of other stories, we talked about the What If series for Marvel. Honestly, Star Wars Visions sounds so cool. So presenting all new creative takes on the galaxy far, far away. Star Wars Visions will be a series of animated short films celebrating Star Wars through the lens of the world's best anime creators. It's going to be an anthology series with 10 episodes. And again, just offering a fresh and sort of diverse cultural perspective.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm a huge fan of anime. I probably geek out about that a bit harder than Marvel now. I'm a huge fan of it. What I really thought was cool in that one little clip we saw of Kathleen announcing it was the fact that there was the one shot almost looked like a samurai cleaning his or sharpening his blade on a whetstone. I feel like we're gonna get a samurai take on it more in these visions, and it's a lot of the lone warrior mythos that comes from Star Wars was heavily drawn from the Japanese culture. So I can't wait to see them almost get that back and then explore, like you said, new stories with that. I'm really looking forward to it.
There's actually I think Star Wars isn't as popular in East Asia as some would think, right? It is popular, but it's not like how it is over here. Right?
No, it's not a phenomenon that we know it as.
I would say Marvel and Transformers are far, and Fast and Furious are far more successful American properties than Star Wars. But yeah, the Star Wars Visions is reminds me of the Animatrix, where they did these offshoot inspired stories from the lore, but it was an anime Japanese style sort of take on it. I'm excited to see that, and I think to Nate's point, it kind of feels like that what if version of Star Wars,
right? Because I don't think it's going to be canon, but or maybe it will be. But I there was a video from about 5 years ago on YouTube that somebody put out that was just it was a TIE fighter pilot, and it was done in an anime style. It was so cool. And I have to imagine that somebody at Lucasfilm saw that and was like, oh, we're doing that. So I am super stoked. No date on that just yet. But kind of continuing on here, sticking with animation, guys, The Bad Batch, probably everyone's favorite part. Right? The favorite part of Clone Wars.
Yeah, they were the highlight of this last season, yeah.
Of the last season. Guys, we watched that trailer. First off, what are your thoughts on the trailer?
Epic.
Yeah, I thought it was epic. I can't wait to see more of the Empire's rise to the Empire that we know in Episode 6 or 4. Like A New Hope, they're already in power. And at the end of the Revenge of the Sith, they're just getting there. We have that whole gap that we haven't seen how they did it. And this show, I think, will really show us how they went about consolidating their grip on the galaxy. So I think that's really going to be a cool adventure.
But that's Filoni, man. Filoni always sees those little pockets of times and says, we could tell a story right here. A story that happens in between here to help round out this timeline of Skywalker.
Yes.
Right? But just, offshoot stories that are in there. Right? That's what he's doing with The Mandalorian.
And I think the fact that these, for those who aren't fully aware, the Bad Batch, they're members of the Clone Army, they're defects, they all have their own various looks and personalities and traits, But the fact that they don't have an inhibitor chip, I think really, to your point, Darcy, it allows them to be, the characters to be the vessel for the audience to see these parts of the Empire, where we normally wouldn't get to see that because we're always fighting the Empire. We don't actually get to. So they're still going to be, characters we want to root for, but they're going to be there, sort of undercover, witnessing these events take place. I am so stoked for that. That's
I'm
so
looking
cool.
forward to it a lot. There's again that time frame hasn't really
Potential
been explored.
A lot. Yeah, there's a lot to explore, and especially because they probably are going to go rogue, right? Like in the sense that they're going to try to get off the radar. And I love the look of their leader, who looks like he's like Stallone's Rambo. Yeah, like
he's Rambo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he is Rambo. Yeah,
it's awesome.
And Fennec Shand making an appearance. Did you guys catch that?
It looks like it's Fennec Shand. Is it?
It's the same helmet, at least, that we saw her wear. So I can only assume it's Fennec.
It's got to be, right? It's got to be a younger Fennec Shand, and what a great time to bring in that character into the animated series when we've just gotten, a really great episode of her in The Mandalorian. It's just perfect timing. Guys, going back to Camino, I'm so stoked. The way that they ended that with the logo burning away just to reveal the Bad Batch, as if to say like they're just going to completely just, blow things out of the water, right? So then, guys, moving into, of course, we all knew it, Ahsoka, right? I think this is something that, after seeing Rosario Dawson in that episode of The Mandalorian, we all very much called it like, this is going to be a series. This has to be a pilot. And of course, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are going to be executive producing it. So, I think that's going to be really, really, really cool to kind of see them, continue with that character. Do we think that Thrawn is going to be more involved in there and less involved in Mando
100%.
Now that this series has been announced?
Yeah, 100%, especially because the last time we saw Ahsoka in Rebels, she was with Sabine looking for Ezra and Thrawn. Like, that's still...
Right.
They're still using that story thread to drive her character forward, I think.
Well,
and then, Kathleen Kennedy had mentioned the next series, Rangers of the New Republic, which is set within the timeline of The Mandalorian. New live-action series, again, Favreau, Filoni, and the fact that it will intersect with future stories and culminate into a climactic story event. I've definitely talked about this in the past, right? Like my theory of 100%. If they're going to be bringing on these stories that are all happening in the same timeline, that's going to be your, I'm excited to see that, but I'm subscribed to Disney Plus because they announced that crossover episode, right? We see this a lot with the DC universe stuff and their CW stuff. So to get that, but at a scale that Disney can produce and Lucasfilm can produce, I am so excited. But guys, my real question for Rangers of the New Republic, is this going to be Cara Dune?
Yeah.
Is Cara Dune involved in this?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking for sure. If not her, we'll see other Marshals of the Republic, because that's the only thing I could think of. They're the cowboys in this new galaxy.
And do we get Paul's son Hyun back again?
No,
right? Is he?
I think he'd be in there making an appearance. I think there'd be a lot more people like that. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot more of a sort of thing.
Could we get Bill Burr? Right.
Find his way over to them after his freedom, basically.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, again, Cara Dune is such a cool idea of somebody coming from Alderaan. I think is so unique and interesting, and again, fresh for the Star Wars universe. So, really, really interesting to see that. But guys, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back in time because everyone, we don't care. We don't want to see what that era of the Star Wars universe holds. We want to go back to an era that is going to be before Episode 4 with Andor. Now, Justin, I know in the past I've talked to you about we have a whole episode that if you're listening right now, you should check out about our movie combat with Rogue One versus Solo. This is going to be a tense, nail-biting spy thriller, but I think the most important thing that I think, Justin, maybe I'll be able to pull you back in, Tony Gilroy, as we know from the Bourne Identity series. I think is that enough to pull you in to say,
he saved,
yep, you are down now?
He pretty much saved Rogue One originally from the original director. So he wrote a lot of additional scenes, and he was directing the reshoots. So I think the fact that this show's being done and the reasons why this show's being done is a testament as to why Rogue One wasn't as good of a movie, because the fact is that he's justifying the fact that he wants to tell more stories of this character because it was one movie and his character was dead and there was nothing to really share and there was so much more.
Or was it that Rogue One was so interesting that people want to see more stories of these characters?
Right, but I would want to see more. I would want to see more of some of the other characters from Rogue One. But again, granted, I appreciate though the effort that they're going into with this. From that little sizzle reel that they showed, they're making headway on production, designing these characters and stuff. So there is going to be a level, and the fact that Diego Luna is actually like executive producer to the project, that means that there is that intent for him to want to tell a really compelling story of this character. So I'm on board with the idea of the series. It could be really interesting.
And Darcy, do we get a live action Chopper making a return? Is that what we're going to see?
I would be on board for that in a heartbeat.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah,
right.
That would be great. Filoni voices.
That'd be great. I think what's really cool about Andor is, again, that potential to explore the Empire. Again, because we don't really get to see the Empire unless they're the bad guy. And again, they're going to be the bad guy in this, but being a spy thriller, he's going to be trying to infiltrate these facilities and these installations. So it'll be interesting to see how the Empire was operating and how they would deal with, the spy that's out there. If he got around and was doing this for a while, he must be on some watch list, you'd think. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, I like learning more about the Empire because we just know that they're the evil. That's about it. So
we want to see that period of time before, right? Because like Rogue One does give you that window. Solo a little bit even more so, right? But they both give you that transition from 3 to 4, which to your point is with Bad Batch, it hasn't been very much explored. So again, it's them honing in on these pockets of time that make it very interesting for storytelling within Star Wars.
And so, do we see, are we going to see Lando, kind of in some part of this? Lando was announced, it will return in a new series for Disney Plus. Justin Simeon, who was the creator of Dear White People and a huge Star Wars fan, is in early stages in developing this project. So, again, are we going to be getting... Because Lando as a character, I mean, we've seen him in Episode 9. He really could show up anywhere. Where do you guys think Lando is going to be taking place?
And that's the curious thing that you bring up, because all the other stuff on here, they usually mention the cast, casting and stuff like that. And the fact that they don't mention either Billy Dee or Donald Glover, really, I don't know, it's up in the air. When will this Lando story take place? I mean, in that one little sizzle reel shot they showed, it was Lando's Falcon. So are we going to be exploring young Lando when he has possession of the Falcon?
Kathleen Kennedy confirmed in the presentation.
No, she didn't mention it, I don't think, at least. I remember watching that and kind of being surprised that they didn't mention. She mentioned all about the director and how he has a vision for the story to explore Lando's some more because he's such a colorful and vibrant character. But she didn't mention either of the two actors who have portrayed him. So it's interesting that they didn't do that. I mean, maybe it's just a given that it'll be Donald Glover, but again, who knows?
And then, guys, before we move on to probably, I think, one of the bigger pieces of news, let's just really quickly talk about The Acolyte. Leslie Headland, Emmy Award-nominated creator of the mind-bending series Russian Doll, which I've heard is phenomenal, brings a new Star Wars series to Disney Plus with The Acolyte, which is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into the galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era, which we know is a book sort of area that they're looking to explore with the books. What's going on here? What is The Acolyte? Have we heard of Acolytes before?
In the extended universe and some of the current canon that they've talked about, Acolyte has always been associated with the dark side, obviously.
Okay.
I believe Asajj Ventress was considered a dark acolyte at some point of potential. I think it was Count Dooku or Darth.
So it's kind of like a Padawan. It's their version of a Padawan. Okay.
What's interesting is they're saying it's set 200 years before. So this is I'm interpreting this as beginning of the World of Two, when everyone thought the Sith was gone, but now we're starting to see them maybe creep up again, and it seems like it's a very interesting path to explore because again, the Acolyte in Star Wars canon has always been associated with dark side powers. So it'll be really interesting to see that era, because again, that's one of the fan favorite eras of the extended universe through the games and books. So there's a rich lore to dive into there, and I think it's really exciting to think that they're finally going to be tapping into that on the screen.
Well, yeah, they're tapping into it in two ways, right? Like, because Nate was pointing out, like the High Republic era is Disney and Lucasfilms, like their 200-year ahead, right? Because they're not looking at Old Republic as part of canon, right? They're not looking at that part of history and stuff. I think some of the characters, like Darth Bane, I think was one.
Darth Bane, I believe Darth Revan has also been brought back into canon too.
Yeah, so I think some of those characters are showing up just so that they can anchor the point of when this is all happening. But yeah, to your point, like it's going to be really interesting to see how fans will appreciate that sort of representation of that part of time.
I feel like the extended universe is clearly in their minds, and they're going forward developing new series and stuff like that, because the way Kathleen Kennedy leads off basically saying that they have such a rich like pool of knowledge they can dive into. Like, yes, all the extended universe is now considered legends, but that's not to say that they can't bring some of that in.
Of course, it's theirs.
Thrawn recently is being brought back in is massive, because he was such a huge driver of that original extended universe going forward in the novels. So,
and I love the idea. I love the idea that again, it's going to be, we're going to get to see a humanized story from the dark side. We're going to get to, almost like a Breaking Bad sort of idea. We're going to get to see this person that's probably going to do awful things, but we're going to understand a lot of the motivation that
we're going to see that they're a person just like everybody else that we've seen in Star Wars. Like they are people behind those masks.
Cool. So cool. And guys, speaking of people behind the mask, huge, probably one of the biggest things to come out of this announcement. It's going to be the last thing we're going to talk about for tonight. This epic, massive list of announcements. Guys, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor returns in the iconic role of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi for a special event series, officially titled Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we know the title now. We knew it was a series before. It begins 10 years after the dramatic events of Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith, where he faced his greatest defeat, the downfall and corruption of his best friend and Jedi apprentice, Anakin Skywalker, who will be returning, played by Hayden Christensen. Guys, this is a fan's dream come true, because I think for so many Star Wars fans, there's been so much backlash against Hayden Christensen, who I think, and I think you guys would agree, did a phenomenal job with what he was given.
Right, with what he was
and
given.
I think if anything, I believe this is going to be a way for Hayden to portray the character in a better written way with better dialogue, and I think it's going to be a masterful performance. Guys, are you stoked to see Hayden Christensen come back as Darth Vader?
You got a lot of hope there, but I'm just more concerned about how is he coming back? Is it visions? Are there conversations? Like, I've heard it twice referenced that it's the ultimate rematch, and I'm like, what? Like, why is there a rematch?
Right.
Doesn't that make some sort of disconnect between his timeline and Episode 4 when they do see each other for the first time? Like,
no, I mean, they don't say that it's been 20 years since I last saw him. He said it's been some time since I felt this presence. So it's still very vague as to how long it's been since he's seen Obi-Wan. And if this series stays at that timeline and doesn't go any further than 10 years, then it's a long time is 10 years. I mean, when you think about it, he's human. That is a while since you've met someone or seen someone. So I can see him possibly fighting again, and maybe we'll get a more vigorous Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan, as opposed to the stick poking that we got in Episode 4. So
yeah, and I think Kathleen was referring to the rematch of Episode 3, right? Like that battle. It's that happening again. I hope we get a lot of off helmet stuff, right? Because again, I think it's another opportunity for Hayden to kind of show his chops. I mean, Justin, you met the guy.
Yeah.
You know him personally. You sold a computer to him. I just think he's such a cool guy. I feel like he's gotten a pretty rough, maybe not as bad as some people in the fandom, but he's definitely gotten a rough
he's definitely
go.
Not. He's not let it phase him. He walked out of that thing great, man. He made a lot of money. Good for him. But that it's not on him. It was on George, right? And the ability that George just wanted to own every part from writing to directing, and that no one challenged him and said, shouldn't we get someone to write this properly? Like, this is a really great treatment, George, but I'm going to give it to someone else to do a better job with it. Like, there's just no one that was going to do that.
Which he wasn't able to do that in the original trilogy, because he wasn't George Lucas at that point. And so obviously you're right. Like, by this point,
he was
by
like, Star Wars
2,
is mine. I'm going to be doing this the way I want to be doing it. That's that.
Lawrence Kasdan comes in and he's like, nah, it's okay, Lawrence. I'm good.
Exactly. Right. You didn't even ask Lawrence. So, but anyways, that being said, I don't think that it's for all the actors. Natalie Portman's a great actress. Liam Neeson's a fantastic actor.
Phenomenal.
Right?
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor, an amazing actor as well. And he's probably the best to come out of that trilogy in terms of like really owning his role.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's interesting that they've built the hype by just saying, Hayden Christensen's coming back.
Yeah. Outside the whole Darth Vader thing, what I'm really wondering is what stories can they explore on Tatooine? Because Obi-Wan it's been said that like once he goes to Tatooine with Luke, he stays on Tatooine. He doesn't leave there. He's protecting Luke. That is his role now.
Right.
So outside of that, like Darth Vader showing up, I don't know what else is going to happen in that story. Like, what else do I care about? Like, we've seen him fight Darth Maul on Tatooine already. I don't see him. Like, I don't know what else I want to see him fight on Tatooine. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, and with the inclusion of bringing over Ahsoka into live action and continuing that story, clearly we're getting a very clear direction of Lucasfilm saying those stories are canon. We're not redoing those stories in live action, so we're not going to get to see that epic fight again in live action. We'll have seen, I guess, what leads up to maybe some of those moments. Maybe Obi-Wan or maybe Darth Maul will be somewhere involved in this, which I think could be very interesting.
That's interesting. I don't like. You think he would be involved in this Obi-Wan series in some capacity?
It's possible that there could be hints of him just with everything that happened in Rebels, right? Around that time and with him searching for him.
Sure, yeah. I guess that is true. Yeah, that was a huge part of Rebels. So,
right.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it would be goes back to the argument I made with Rogue One. You're trying to introduce new narrative elements that might challenge existing narrative elements.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think
it's gonna be very tricky.
I think the setup for A New Hope was that this was a master who hadn't seen his Padawan in several years. Is there a chance now that they might rewrite something here? Like, I don't know. And I feel like Hayden's going to come back as a ghost.
Mm-hmm. I don't see why they would put him because once Darth Vader is in the suit, we'd be getting James Earl Jones. So bringing back Hayden Christensen for like that type of performance, he would just be the body. And I don't know if they necessarily need him for that or if he'd want.
But he's not dead. He's not dead at this point.
No, but he is. Force ghosts are still what they perceive themselves as, so he's still projected as what he thinks Anakin is. So it wouldn't be the Anakin that we saw at the end, end of Revenge of the Sith, but it would still be Anakin to some extent. We won't see Darth Vader's mask in the Force because that's not part of him.
That's also a really good point, though, that you point out. Like, if you're bringing back Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader, and Darth Vader's voice is James Earl Jones. Right, like you can't. It's going to be interesting. Why would you just bring him back to be the body actor, right?
Yeah, it doesn't line up when you make that announcement.
But there's no way that they don't meet up physically though, with Kathleen Kennedy like driving home that aspect of like the rematch of the century or whatever she says, right? Like they definitely are going to see each other physically and fight. So you're right though, but maybe we get helmeted version and we get unhelmeted version in visions. Maybe throughout the series, he's haunting him in some way.
He can't take the helmet off without like dying. Essentially, like he cannot last long when he takes the helmet.
That's why
off.
he has the chamber.
We won't be seeing a physical like helmet off Darth Vader. It'll be like a mental manifestation.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think that maybe that's where they fight.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, we've seen
we've
seen the Force becoming more and more diverse and more of a space less than a power. So it could be in this Force a force battle.
I'm wondering if that's what it is, because every time Darth Vader goes into that chamber, he meditates, and
wow.
Obi-Wan is encouraged in his time of isolation to meditate. What if they are speaking to each other through their mind, very similar to what we had seen with Rey and Kylo, as kind of
I
like,
love that a lot.
do you know what I mean? Like as this idea of something that exists. You know, who's to say that we might not even see a Liam Neeson, you know, pop in, make a cameo, right?
That'd be awesome.
Where Obi-Wan speaks to him as a ghost, right? So because he does.
I mean, that'd be a cool aspect to explore, is because we haven't seen Obi-Wan and how he learned how to become one with the Force. So a Qui-Gon introduction in that aspect would be the right way, because if we know,
and Qui-Gon was so integral at the end of what was season 6, I guess, of Rebels, where Yoda goes on that adventure
directly from Qui-Gon,
which justifies his line in Revenge of the Sith. So it was cool that they kind of wrapped all of that in, and I think that that's what Obi-Wan can do, is it can kind of push that sort of what the Force and whatnot, that connectivity that it has. So it'll be interesting.
I also think it would be really cool if they use that as a way to sort of explain some of his memory loss. Like maybe his meditation and maybe his experiences he has by going through this in the Force. Yeah, the mental anguish maybe starts to affect his mind a little bit, because when we see him in A New Hope, he's a very different Obi-Wan. And that timing is not that far, right? So I think that could be really interesting to see if that's how they go about it.
Especially we've seen how like the aging effects that the Force can use. I mean, yes, it was like the way the Emperor became the shriveled husk that he is from exertion of the Force or exposure to the dark side. So maybe through this meditation is what ages him, because again, we've seen people in that timeline who 30 years later look fine. Boba Fett, like he's fine. We've seen him grow up and stuff like that, and he aged normally. So how would the Obi-Wan we saw at the end of 3 become the Obi-Wan we see in New Hope? It's
right.
That'd be interesting to see if a force affects that in some way.
That's really smart. That's a smart way to sort of make up for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, guys, holy geeks! Listen, if you have stayed with us all the way to now, first of all, thank you so much. This is a lot of stuff that we just had to talk about. We couldn't not talk about. But guys, that is it for this epic, bombshell, news-filled, magical episode of the Geekcentric podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. We are Geekcentric, and you can be too, which means you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. You can follow us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, and follow us on Instagram at WeAreGeekcentric. Of course, you can also catch me on my Twitch stream, Nate Plays Games, which is twitch.tv/Nate Plays Games. Streaming schedule is coming back. I've taken a bit of a little tiny break from it, but going to come back with some Demon Souls, maybe some Cyberpunk. It's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely check out that. And check out my Instagram, which is Nate.playsgames, to be made aware of what's going on there. Justin, thank you so much for joining me. Darcy, thank you so much for coming back on and giving us all your comic book wisdom.
It was a pleasure. I feel like I'm putting my knowledge to use for once, so that's nice.
The way that you were able to kind of bring up some stuff, honestly, if you go back and you listen to, the Marvel section, it's cool to see that we were able through this episode to not only theorize about the individual properties, but theorize about the entire phase or direction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I honestly, going into this, didn't expect us to start to kind of come up with some of these revelations that we did. We just want to see them come out on screen. But geeks, listen, if you want to write in with some of your ideas on what you think is going to be happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Star Wars Cinematic Universe, please email us. Justin, where can they do that again?
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com.
All right. Well, again, thanks everyone so much for joining us. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.